Okay, so let's turn it over to Monica, TEDx talker, best-selling author. You also run speech classes. Tell us a little bit about, you and how you kind of found this niche.
Yeah, like any good mortgage broker, I've had a couple side hustles in the early days, and as part of, well, you'll hear it as part of my talk, but as part of that journey towards like figuring out how to network, how to build connections, how to build community, I
Mhm.
also figured out that I really love speaking, and somewhere along and then during the middle of COVID, this thing came up on my thing. It was a 30-day book writing challenge. I'm like, well, I got nowhere to go. I'm locked in my house with my kids. What else am I going to do? I'm going to write a book.
Love
And the
it.
first question in writing the book and the prompts was like, what is an obstacle that you've had to overcome when something that's been really difficult for you? And I'm like, oh, it was that whole freaking networking
Yeah.
piece, that whole business building piece. So that's what I wrote the book about. And then, yeah, and then I ended up doing a TEDx talk. And now I also coach other speakers, whether they're doing their own TEDx talk or they're just trying to figure out a Friday video to send out to their partners or whatever. So that's
That's
my little fun thing, but that lights
so
my heart
great.
up. And then I also mentor a team of brokers as well.
I love that. That's so great. Because often when we think of speech coach, we think it's because you're going to be, on stage giving a big presentation, but that's not necessarily true, right? Because in our jobs now, like social media, making videos and stuff, I find that brokers' biggest hangups with making, the quick social posts and stuff that are really successful with client reach out is that they don't know what to say. They're afraid
Yeah.
to speak and be on camera. So a speaking coach, I guess, doesn't necessarily have to be for, that one versus many audience on stage. It can be for even maybe talking to your clients or like pitching to new clients. You meet a realtor at your kid's hockey game or something like, how do you form the proper words?
It's everything, right? It's the impromptu speaking, the planned speaking, the social media stuff. Maybe you have something, but you think it's a 10-minute thing. How do you compress it into a 30-second Instagram video?
Yeah.
Like there's an art
Elevator
to that.
pitch.
What's the most
Yeah.
important piece, right? Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the elevator pitch.
Yeah. Yeah. And also your origin story, like what's your why? Why are you here? And how do you formulate that so that when you do run into a realtor or you're in the elevator or the airport and someone says, well, why'd you get into this? Or why do you do what you do? Like you've got it and it's there and it comes out easily and
I
authentically.
love it. And
Yeah.
it should come up. If you guys don't have like a 30-second explanation of, what it is you do, because I've recently heard, I don't remember who, I think it was from Veronica Love. Um, for example, like she's like, you can find clients everywhere. I know somebody who went to their dentist for, a root canal and ended up walked out with the dentist as a client, or somebody who got a speeding ticket and talking to the police officer ended up becoming his mortgage broker, and then now the mortgage go-to broker for his entire chapter of officers in his local office there. So we should always be aware that like clients can be found everywhere, and it really is about kind of choosing the right words at the right time in the right moment. So if you guys don't have that down pat and you want, just send me an email. I'll put my email in the chat. I do have a really good elevator pitch worksheet that you can just kind of work off of to help guide you towards, what is that 30-second speech going to be. Landlord.
Nice.
There you go, Jerry. His landlord became his client. There you go. Yeah, exactly. It's funny.
Yeah, my first year in the business, I think that's all my clients were like the guy that fixed my chimney, the plumber, like
Yeah.
everyone that came to my house knew what I did. And so I got some deals out of those repair people.
Yeah. So you're obviously an expert at this. So let's call it introverts, networking for introverts. Would you
Yeah.
classify yourself as an introvert?
Oh, I'm a total introvert, total socially awkward introvert, and I'll talk about that a bit more when I dive into my presentation. But yeah, I'm absolutely an introvert. People look at me and they're like, "There's no way you're an introvert. You have to be an extrovert because you're up on stage and you're doing all this stuff."
Mhm.
But introvert, so I am socially awkward and shy, but it doesn't have to mean that. It can also mean that you go out and you do that stuff, and then you're freaking exhausted, and you come home and you need like your social battery's depleted, and it takes a lot more effort for some people to do that than for others. You can also enjoy talking to people, but still be an introvert and still find that really exhausting navigating all those social cues and the people and the walking around and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are different levels of it too. Like I think it's kind of more like a sliding scale. I'd
Mm.
consider myself an extroverted introvert, meaning I do have that social battery, but when it runs out, it's out. You know what I mean? It gets depleted and I just get like uber exhausted. I don't know if you guys can relate, but it's
Yeah.
like you almost have capacity for only a certain amount. So it is
Yeah,
really important that we utilize that in the most productive way.
for sure. And one of the misconceptions in this industry, I don't know those of you that have seen my TED Talk, but what I talk about is the fact that in this industry, or in many industries, sales industries in general, there's this misconception that if you're not a super outgoing extrovert, that you're not going to do well, that you're gonna tank. Or I've even sat around in sales meetings at brokerages before where they're talking about getting new agents. And what you hear is we need to get extroverts. We need to get the people that are really outgoing. But the reality is a lot of those BDMs that are absolutely killing it, those VPs of sales, like those people that are really killing it are actually introverts, but they're building relationships in the really authentic way. And they're using other skills. They're using listening skills. They're using problem solving skills. They're bringing all these other tools to the table. And
Totally.
so equally as capable, just in different ways.
A little bit more balance too. Yeah. I think we tend to mistake that you have to be extremely extroverted to be in a sales, related job, which our job is because we represent ourselves in sales, but it's not necessarily true. You just have to know the right ways to kind of apply it and have those correct conversations.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I talk about too is like introverts, even though you may not be out there like shaking hands, making all these connections at an event, you have these deep listening skills. And if you sit down, you listen deeply to your clients, you hear what their problems are. When you hear what their problems are, boom, you can provide a solution. And if you're the person that can provide a solution, well, you are irreplaceable.
A 1,000%. You're now, their go-to expert and trusted source of industry knowledge. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So anything else you want to guide us through before we jump in? Any other background we should know about you, Monica?
No, I don't think so. I just yeah, I came into brokering about 2016 and took a couple of years away and I've hopped back into it. I was doing some like salaried underwriting coaching and got really inspired by the brokers and decided that I
Oh,
actually want to go
underwriting coach.
back to
Okay.
brokering.
Wow, you're just
And I'm really excited to be here. Yeah.
that's amazing. You're just a woman of many talents, also underwriting coaching, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you're a part of now the Terra Boyle mortgage.
I'm part of Tara Borley's team and I freaking love it. I just love it. Not that I haven't loved everywhere I've been, but like it's like a level of love and family that you just can't explain. Yeah, it's just I tell Tara it feels like sitting wrapped up in a warm blanket with a hot chocolate. Like you just feel at home when you're there. Uh,
Oh, that's so
yeah,
nice. And that
it
you know
feels
what? I know her very well and I would totally agree. That's exactly what it is like.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's just for context, that's one of our mortgage architects, quite large teams. They have over 200. Is it almost 100, 200 now?
Karen or Holly might know. I see them on the call.
Around
I
that,
feel
yeah,
like it's
around
over
that. Yeah.
250. Yeah, it's yeah, and
Growing,
it's
yeah,
really great
over
model.
250, growing every day,
Yeah.
and they're across Canada. So they're out in BC, originated from Alberta, Edmonton. They're also in Ontario. I think they're pretty much everywhere now.
Yeah. So yeah, so I have the best of everything. I get to mentor a team, I get to work on my own files, and I get to teach speaking still and do speaking still. So I kind of have like this perfect little bundle of everything I love to do. So
Love
yeah.
that. I love that. That's awesome.
But let me start out by asking, because I was having this conversation. I was driving home from an event the other night with one of my team members, and we were
Mhm.
talking about what we thought mortgage brokering would be like. And we were saying it was like we had this vision of our mind of what it was going to be like. Like there's a form and you hit a button and you send it and boom, you get an approval. Like you're basically just a button pusher, right? Like that's what I thought it was going to be.
Mhm.
With just fill in the form, send it off, boom, approval. I can, that's really all I need to do. Anyone else feel like what they thought being a mortgage broker was going to be like is pretty different than what it is? Show of hands, anything? Yeah. So what I really thought being a mortgage broker was going to be like, this is why I really signed up to be a mortgage broker. Because I thought I could just sit at home in my home office, hang out with my cat, hit the send button on files, and boom, like I was going to be good. This was going to be easy. I wasn't going to have to go out there. Reality is, got hired on at a brokerage, showed up the first day, and I'm like, okay, what are we going to learn today? Give me my first deal. I'm ready. And they're like, your first deal? What are you talking about, Monica? I'm like, you've got a deal for me, right? And they said, no, no, you're gonna have to go out and get your deals. Part of this job is go out, network yourself, find clients. We're not just gonna hand them to you. They're not gonna just walk in the door and be given to you. And they said, in fact, they said, you know what? We got a great way to get you started. Tonight, or next week, I can't remember what it was, but there is this networking event coming up, and we're all gonna go to it. There's this big Chamber of Commerce awards dinner. You can go, you can do this networking thing, you can start to build some clients. It'll be a great opportunity to introduce yourself to the community. And this is what I thought about that. I was like, oh crap, this is not what I had in mind. This is not why I became a mortgage broker. I wanted to stay in my comfort zone. I did not want to have to get out of my comfort zone. So, and then one of the reasons I was so worried about it is, back in marketing class in university, I took marketing. And when we learned about networking back then was that we would go and design some beautiful business cards, create those business cards. We'd go to an event, you'd hand out as many cards as you could, you'd get as many cards back as you could. And if you gave out a whole ton of cards and you got back a whole ton of cards, like you got a great grade, you got an A. That was marketing. And I was like, that was networking. And I was like, I didn't like that class. It really sucked. And I don't want to do that. So, sorry, you heard it. So I'm laying awake at night thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm losing some sleep. And where am I? Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm having an off day. Anyways, I go to this event, I walk in the door and I turn around and I come back out and I'm sitting in my car and I'm holding my phone there and I'm like, oh my gosh. Do I tell them? Maybe I can tell them I can't find a babysitter, or maybe I tell them I'm sick. And then of course my whole crew drives up. Can't get out of this now. Like that's it. You're going to this networking thing. So I go to this networking thing, this Chamber of Commerce dinner. And I do what I learned to do in marketing class. I hand out my card to everyone and I talk about myself, about I can get you the best rate, I'm the best mortgage broker, blah, 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 blah. Come home at the end of the night, I got this whole handful of cards. I'm like, awesome. If I was in marketing class, I would have an A plus. Like I killed this. This is fabulous. And then I'm looking at these cards and I'm like, I don't like a lot of clutter around. I don't like a lot of stuff in my space. And I'm like, I can't really get to know any of these people. Could I really make a connection with any of these people? Like, do I want to keep these cards? So I decide I throw these cards in the fire, right? What good are they to me? And as I'm throwing them in the fire, I'm thinking, oh no, oh no, 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 no. If I'm throwing their cards out, shit, that means they're throwing my cards out too. That means nothing that I did at that event where I walked around and I did all that stuff had any value for me. And I'm like, oh no, like this is not cool. This is not how I wanted to start this new career. But I remember that, and so I'm thinking like there's got to be something better. And I remember that we've got this group on Facebook in our industry, and it's called WIMI, Women in the Mortgage Industry. And there's some, by the way, if you haven't joined WIMI and you're a woman, sorry guys, there's other great groups for you, but there's this fantastic group called WIMI, and there's all these women in there that are just killing it, that are doing great things, that are more than willing to mentor people, that are more than willing to give advice. And so I say, you know what? I'm going to reach out to some of those WIMI people. And I reach out to the first one, and she says, Monica, you just got to be yourself. And this is what I thought of that advice. I was like, this is freaking bullshit. Like I tried that in elementary school. Be yourself, Monica. That's what all the teachers tell you, and it doesn't work that great. Like it wasn't working for me. And so I went to the next one and the next one, and they're all saying the same thing. I'm like, come on, like where do you buy your leads? Where do I do this? Like, and they're like, you just gotta show up and be you, like be real you, Monica. And I didn't love the advice, but to be honest, what I was doing wasn't working. So I thought, oh, maybe I'm gonna have to start showing up as me. So the problem with that is real Monica, she's a freaking crazy goat lady. Like I'm a crazy nut bar goat lady. I got a bunch of goats. And so my
Goat lady.
business,
But that makes you interesting. I love goats.
right? I decided this is what I'm going to do. I started thinking about it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to let my inner weirdo goat lady shine. And so I stopped posting about the best rate and I stopped posting about all this mortgage stuff. And I started posting real, authentic, crazy goat lady me. And surprisingly, crazy and wonderful things started to happen. And I shouldn't say that I never posted mortgage stuff because I gave a little sprinkle, but I started showing up as real me, not me in a business suit, not me in all these professional photos. And so one day I'm taking my little goat into the vet for their checkups, two little goats, and I take them into the vet and I'm bringing them in and they're like, we're really slammed today. Do you think maybe you could just drop them off and come back in an hour? So I'm like, sure, I'll go grab a coffee. I'll come back. Well, I come back to pick up my goats, and the lady says, "Oh my God, are you Mortgage Monica?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am Mortgage Monica. How did you know I'm Mortgage Monica?" I was like, two different people saw the goats. We were out taking photos of them in the parking lot, and two different people came by and said, "Are those Mortgage Monica's goats?" Like that's butterscotch and that's caramel. And they knew who the goats were, and they knew they belonged to Mortgage Monica because I was posting about me and my crazy goat lady with my hashtag Mortgage Monica. And, it wasn't long after this that I started being more authentic, that my phone started to ring, the deals started to come in, and people who called me felt like they already knew me. They felt like they related to me. And a lot of them were just from my local little rural community. I've got another little funny story is I was out, I had lost my dog. I was driving around the neighborhood looking for my dog. I showed up at the school because all these people were out in the field doing stuff. And I'm like, have you seen a big German Shepherd? He got away, blah, blah, blah. Found my dog eventually, went home, didn't think anything more of it. And the next day I go into my office and they're like, there's somebody here to see you. I'm like, somebody here to see me. I don't have an appointment. They're like, no, it's just a walk-in. They showed up and asked for Mortgage Monica. So this lady comes in and she needs a mortgage. And I said, well, how did you find me? Did you see an ad or did someone refer me? And she's like, no, you were out a couple days ago looking for your dog. And I'm a dog person and dog people are good people. And I figure I want to work with someone who's a good person. And you must be a good person because you're out in the pouring rain looking for your dog. She decided she wanted to do business with me because I gave her a sense of who I was. And that's what happens when people connect to us when we show our authentic selves and they want to do business with people that they feel connected to. So what I learned from that is when I show up, when I be who I am, whoever that, like let my inner weirdo shine, or maybe it's not your inner weirdo, people connect to that and it's relatable and people want to do business with people they feel connected to. So when we're talking about your origin story, your why, your elevator pitch, what is your story and how does it help you serve your clients? Like that's what you want to know is how did you get here and how does it help you serve your clients? For me, part of it obviously was I just want to work from home and push buttons because that's what I thought this job was and it's nothing like that. But also the person that helped me when my bank wasn't able to. My bank, I wanted to go buy a rental property and the bank said there's no way you're going to do this with a cosigner. And I went to see a mortgage broker and she helped me do that. She said, you know what, it might cost a little more. We might have to go to an alt lender, but you're going to be able to write off all the interest on this mortgage. And I ended up being able to purchase a rental property, which was one of the best things I ever did. And I got to see the value in that. And so that's why I became a mortgage broker. So, like, what is your why? What's your reason? Because sometimes your why is the thing that makes you good at your job. So I have a friend who's a mortgage broker and she had gone through a divorce. And after she went through that divorce, she realized she'd never paid a bill in her life. She didn't know where their mortgage was at. She didn't know anything about their finances. And so she wanted to be someone that would empower other people with their finances. So she specifically works with women who are widowed or have gone through divorce. Like that's her niche because that's the thing that lights her up inside. That was her why. So figure out what your why is, and that will lead you to your niche. It will lead you to the thing that will make you stand out from the crowd. There's a reason surgeons specialize. There's a reason a heart surgeon is not also an orthopedic surgeon, right? Because when you do something that you're really good at, and you're passionate about, you develop special skills. You create systems and processes around that thing, right? So this year, somehow, I've stumbled across reverse mortgages. I happen to live in a community with a lot of seniors. I was able to help a couple people with it. I realized I liked it. Now I've done this deep dive into it. And when people ask me a question about it, I know right off the top of my head what all three of our reverse lenders, and there's actually more than three, what they'll do, what the benefits are, what the pros and cons. I would never pick up a new to Canada file because I've never done one. I know nothing about it. I would not be able to really serve my client well because I don't know what documents they need. I don't know what obstacles are coming. When you do something well and you're excited about it, you start to see the obstacles coming before they get there. So when you find your little niche or you find that thing that you're good at, it makes you the expert in your field. It makes you the expert in that area, which makes you really valuable to your clients and to your referral partners. Um, and then the next I'm talking a little faster. Let me slow down, take a breath. I always tell people to pause more, and I'm not pausing at all. The other thing that's on my list here to talk to you about today is that your business is only as good as your community, and your community notices when you show up. And this is where we talk about getting back to basics, right? So I want to give you this metaphor because my brain works really well with metaphors. So you see the house on the left there, and you see the house on the right. So let's pretend you're living in the house on the left. You've done a beautiful, you purchased this beautiful home, you mow the lawn, you keep it clean, windows are washed, the gutters are empty, the roof is in good shape. You're doing awesome. But you look across the street and your neighbor's not doing so well. Their house has fallen down. It looks like a piece of garbage. The lawn's not mowed. I don't know, maybe they broke their leg, maybe they came across some hard times, something happened and they haven't been able to maintain their house as well. What happens to your property value now? Your house is no longer as valuable because your neighborhood is not as good. The same thing goes for your industry, right? That's why this event today is open to anyone from any brokerage, because when we make our whole industry better, we all do better. All of our businesses do better. When we support our community, when our community is strong, our business does better. So for me, it's a really big deal for me to be involved in my industry. It's a really big deal for me to be involved in my community. And it's a really important thing for me to help other brokers, regardless of their affiliation. I don't care which network they're with. If they've got a question and I can help them, I want to help them, because when they look more knowledgeable to their clients, our whole industry looks better and it reflects better on all of us. So yeah, in reality, if my neighbor broke her leg and she couldn't shovel her driveway, I'd probably be over there helping her, or I'd be sending my kids over to do it. Same thing in our industry. We all want to help each other out. Some other ways that you can connect to your community, obviously, is volunteer. And volunteer at something that you're excited about, that you want to do, that lights you up inside. Show up at those events, volunteer, help out with your kids' hockey team, whatever that thing is that gets you excited. When I get up every morning, and I don't anymore, but I had kids in hockey, other parents got to see that I was willing to get up and show up at 7 o'clock in the morning and tie other kids' skates. They get to see your work ethic. They get to see your organizational skills. They get to see how you show up in the world, and that reflects back on you. And people get to see if you're someone they know, like, and trust, because that's the objective of everything we're doing every day out in the world as entrepreneurs, is showing people whether or not we're someone that they would know, like, and trust. So whether that's your kids' soccer team, which of your industry associations you're a part of, whatever that looks like. Maybe it means helping seniors with their income tax. Maybe there's some reverse mortgage deals in there. And I don't say, like, go do this stuff so you can get a deal. But when you're out in your community, you're helping, it's reflecting back on you, and you become someone that people want to do business with. Here's another thing that was just an absolute game changer for my career, is sitting on committees. So whether you belong to Rotary or Women's Business Network or whatever it is, one of my first years in business, I sat on a committee where we spent the whole year trying to figure out how to raise funds for a women's shelter, for a new house for that. And by the end of that year, I think there was 6 or 8 of us on that committee. Like, we were almost best friends by the end of that year, because you get to see, when you sit down every week with a group of people, again, they get to see your work ethic, they get to see your organizational skills, they get to see your honesty, they get to see your sense of humor, they get to see all these pieces about you that you can never show someone, just walking around a room shaking hands. And those people are some of the people I'm the most close to now. I send them referrals, they send me referrals. They're the person I'll call when I'm just having a bad day and just be like, hey, I just want to share this, because you really get to build really deep relationships. Not only that, those other people that are sitting on a committee, they are centers of influence in their own communities. So they have employees, they have families, they're involved in other things. So you're not just connecting with them, you're connecting with all the people that they have influence over. And then I'm going to say this because there is a right way and a wrong way to do this, right? So people that do it the right way, they find the thing they're excited about, the thing they're passionate about, they show up, they work hard, they add value. And then you see these people who are brand new realtor, brand new mortgage broker, new lawyer in town, and they're like, oh yeah, you got to volunteer. I'm going to volunteer for everything. They overcommit. They go to things they're not excited about. They don't show up fully. They're late. They're disorganized. They make a really bad impression, or they're coaching the kids and they're screaming at the kids like a jerk. And the parents are like, never, never doing business with that person. If you're going to do the stuff you're good at, do the stuff you like to do, and show up 100%. Because if you just sign up because you think it looks good and you're going to be able to use your email signature to send emails to the whole team, and then you don't add value, you've actually just made your situation worse. Like you've become someone people don't like, don't trust, and don't want to get to know. So only do what you can. If you're already overextended, don't go out and volunteer to teach Girl Guides if you're like already burnt out at the end of every day. Do something if your kids are already in swimming and you love coaching swimming, go do that, but do the thing that lights you up that you can commit to fully. Yeah. And here's okay, I don't know if this is my original idea, but it's a quote from my book, and it's the single most important thing I ever learned. And that is that people notice the people that notice them. And this is literally, I wish I could have learned this 20 or 30 years ago. Let me tell you a story to go with this. But when I first started out and I started going to Toastmaster meetings because I thought I needed to learn speaking skills, and I started to get to know some of the people. And I had just bought this brand new car. I'd been in Toastmasters for a few weeks. I bought my first like really nice new car. It had the ability to read my text. So I'm driving home one day and it says, you have a new text. Would you like me to read it? And I'm like, hell yeah, read my text. This is so cool. When I was a kid, I never thought that a car could read my text. And so I hit the button to read my text and it says, you are so awesome. I freaking love you. And I was like, what the heck? What? Who is this? Right. And I'm pulling over. I'm like, who is texting me this? And it was this lady that was in my Toastmasters meeting. I'd never met her before. When I got home, I was Googling her. I was on the computer. Who is she? What does she do? What does she do for a living? All of a sudden, I want to know more about her. You know why? Because she noticed me. And we notice the people who notice us. We all just want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to know that we matter. And when someone sees us, really sees us, and sees something good in us, we just want to know more about them. And I just wanted to learn more about this person. And we've actually cultivated this amazing relationship over the years. But um, when people make us feel awesome, make us feel good, we want to reciprocate. We want to do something good for them. They're the person that now we're interested in, because clearly, if they think we're great, they must be really smart people, right? So we want to learn more about them, and it helps us cultivate these really deep relationships. Let me give you one more little story about telling someone they're awesome. So I was scrolling through TikTok the other day. Tara Borley calls it TikTok, by the way. We always give her a hard time, but I'm scrolling through TikTok and I see this guy and he's always got these great videos. Like they're just phenomenal and he's killing it. And I'm getting a little jealous. I'm like, I'm never gonna be able to make TikTok videos like this guy. No matter how long I practice, I'll never be able to do this. And I'm starting to feel a little dejected. And then I remembered my own advice, right? People notice the people who notice them, and tell people when you think they're awesome. I'm like, you know what? I gotta tell this guy. So I open up my DMs and I send him a little message and I'm like, hey, you don't know who I am, but like I'm super jealous of your TikTok game. You are absolutely freaking killing it. Well done. Closed my phone, left it there. Next day, Um, my website tells me when people are visiting my website. So, sorry, not the next day. Within about 10 minutes of that, I see a visitor from Toronto at 12:49, another visitor from Toronto a little bit later. This guy happens to be in Toronto. So clearly, I've sent him a message. He's now doing just what I did to that other lady. He's now Googling me. Who is this lady who thinks I'm killing it? I don't think anything more of it. A couple of weeks later, I open my email and there's an email from this guy. And he says, hey, I bought your book a couple weeks ago. It was awesome. My company is running a book club. Can I buy like 15 copies of your book? All I did is I saw someone out there doing something cool. I told him I thought it was cool. He noticed me, and then magically out of that, this new relationship starts to form. Something good comes back to me. So when you see people that are doing something awesome, whether they're in your industry, in your community, like just take a minute and tell them. You don't have to, if you're don't want to pick up the phone, don't pick up the phone. Send them a DM, send them a message, drop them an email. Let them know what you think about them. You know, when I was a kid years ago, I was in like 4-H and I won some award, and my chiropractor, my mom's chiropractor at the time, clipped that little thing out of the paper and sent it to her in a card and said, hey, congratulations, your daughter's doing really great. She still goes to that guy. Like she still talks about the time that he sent her that little newspaper clipping. So like notice what other people are doing and tell them about it. The it is the single biggest way that you will ever build a relationship, because people notice the people who notice them. And it's free. Like it costs you nothing. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to take out an ad. You don't have to buy an app. You don't have to download anything. It's 100% free just to tell people when they're being awesome. A couple other things that are super free that sometimes we forget about is liking other people's posts, sharing their posts, following, making meaningful comments. Jamie Shunko talks about how every day she will go out and, sorry, I totally butchered her last name, but she talks about how every day she'll make a point of making meaningful comments on people's posts. So like not just a thumbs up, but like really looking through posts and going, you know what, that one really connected with me. I really liked what this person had to say, and taking a moment to comment on it, whether that's your realtor partners or someone else in the industry, but looking for things that are interesting that you like, that you appreciate, and commenting on that, because people notice and they appreciate that you're helping them grow their business and they want to turn around and do the same for you. Shop local. It sounds really simple, but it's a big deal. You know, when I meet agents for coffee or I meet people to talk to them, I try to go to my little local little coffee shop and not the Starbucks or the chain store, because that little local guy, he notices when I come in. He's like, "Hey, Monica, I got your table." Like he knows it's me, and he appreciates it, and referrals eventually come from that. I have same with reviews. I have a little story where we have a local food truck in our town. And I have been going there for a while and I absolutely love their fries. Like I absolutely love them. And one day I was like, I got to tell the world about these fries. Like they are so good. So I write a review about it. I'm like, these are the best fries you'll ever have. You got to try this place. I think I might have even taken a picture and posted it. And I always post Mortgage Monica, or I probably had Mortgage Monica in my hashtag. And the next week I go there and the guy's like, hey, Mortgage Monica. And I'm like, hey, food truck guy. And he's like, I saw your review last week. You have no idea how many people came in for fries that week. I appreciate you. I appreciate that you did that. Fries are on the house for me today. So yeah, I got some free fries, but that wasn't the big thing that came out of it. It's about 3 months later, somebody called me and said they needed a mortgage. And I said, great, how did you hear about me? My dad's the food truck guy. I did something to help his business, and something great happened in my business, right? When we help other people, that flows back to us. So, just take some time to think about where you can be helpful. And then here's something that's often underlooked, is just don't be a freaking jerk. Like don't be a jerk, because we think that networking is this thing that we do at Chamber of Commerce events or Rotary events or industry events. Networking is in fact every single interaction that we have with every single person through the day. And people remember how we treat them. They remember if you're the person that walks into the coffee shop and says, good morning, and how was your week, and talks to them about their day. And they also remember if you're the freaking jerk who treats them like crap because you got their order wrong, right? They remember that. And maybe it's just the kid behind the counter, but they're gonna go home and tell their parents about that day. Oh, Mortgage Monica came in and frickin' freaked out at me, practically threw the drink at me. What a jerk. People remember those negative interactions and they remember them even more than the positive one. So for every 10 positive interactions, like one negative interaction is going to cancel that out. So in those moments when you just want to lose it, you need to take a breath and pause and think, if this was like my kid or if this was me, how would I want to be treated and how is this going to reflect back on me? Because people remember how you treat them and they 100% will talk about it. They might not mention if you did something nice. Hopefully they will. I've definitely got referrals out of being kind, but they will 100% tell as many people as they can think of if you were rude or unkind or disrespectful to them. One of my other side hustles is I have a business in a veterinary hospital, and it's a large hospital with about 40 employees. There's a big reception desk. And let me tell you, they all talk to each other. And someone is nice to the doctor, but rude to the receptionist. They talk about that.
Mhm.
Um, when they are ready to find a new provider, maybe they want a massage therapist or an accountant or a realtor, they want some new service. In the coffee room, they're talking about who they're thinking about hiring. Oh, what about so and so? Or what about so and so? And then I'll hear, oh, I would never hire that dude. He is so freaking rude. Or that guy's always late. And then you also hear, what about Sarah? She always comes on time. She's so nice. She brings us cookies at Christmas. You should hire her. People are having conversations that you're not even part of, that you don't even know are happening, and they're and your name is coming up. And so do you want your name to come up in a great way, or do you want your name to come up in a negative way? So just
So
like just
true. And
keep
the
that in
modern,
mind.
I
Sorry?
think the modern form of that is Google reviews, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
We
exactly.
might not even yet notice, but everybody has access to basically comment on our business and our reputation. So instead of like those conversations obviously still happen behind closed doors and
Yeah.
deciding who to work with, whatnot, but they're also now more so happening on the public sphere.
100%, 100%. It's easy to find. So yeah, and so you, who's now I think
Yes.
director of sales at CMLS, I had her on my podcast, and when I asked her what her best piece of advice was, it was be careful the toes you step on today because they may be connected to the ass you kiss tomorrow.
I love
And yeah,
that.
she gave me a story of, I forget, she had some kind of negative interaction with someone and thought, ah, whatever, I'm never going to see that person again. And then she walks into like a job interview or something, and that person like is the person making the decisions. So just that was always a good reminder for me. And then also, not to plug my own public speaking business or course, but let me tell you, public speaking is the fastest way to improve your visibility and your credibility and to build relationships with your clients. If I were to go to an event of like 2,000 people, I could work that entire trade room floor. I could talk to hundreds of people. I would never make the same impact as I get standing up on the stage and talking to those people. By the time I get done talking today, even when I'm done talking to you guys, you will know by the end of this time if you know, like, and trust me. You might not know. You might not like me. I might not be your cup of tea, but you're gonna know by the end of it. And the same thing goes when you get up on a stage. People know by the time you're done if you're someone they want to connect to. And you get to build a relationship with those people even without like one-on-one talking to them. People will come into your office and they'll feel like they already know you because they saw you speak. I
Yeah.
Last year I was looking for a contract lawyer. I was phoning around town. I needed to have a contract reviewed, and I was calling one law office and another. I'm like, "Do you do this?" "No, we don't do this, but call Simon. Simon does that." Like, and then call the next office. "So Simon does that." And I'm like, "Who is this Simon guy? Like, do you know this guy?" "No, we've never met him, but he speaks at all this conferences." So even though they hadn't met this guy, they'd heard him speak so many times that he had become known as the expert, and they were now referring people to him. Same way I get referrals for speaker coaching to people that I've never talked to because they've seen me speak. So they're like, go see Monica if you need speaking. Or when I go to an event and I talk about mortgages, I'm now front of mind in a way that I would have to meet a lot of people and shake a lot of hands to build that same kind of credibility. And here's the thing, you don't have to go speak at a giant event, but you can speak at an industry event. You can do a webinar or a seminar. If you're afraid of speaking live, you can pre-record it, you can script it, you can get a video editor, you can get someone to make you look real good, and you can run a webinar or a seminar. You can show up at a community event. We have this huge event in our community every year called Nautical Days. Thousands of people show up. I volunteer every year to be an MC. It just gets me out in front of them. It lets me give back to my community. There's a million little ways that you can be speaking without being speaking. Like, you don't formally have to be speaking from a stage. There's so many other ways that you can speak. You can have a podcast. I have 2 podcasts, and I was terrified to do the first one. The first one has nothing to do with mortgages. It's called Juggling Without Balls. It's for women who juggle multiple responsibilities, and I just talk to different women every week who have a million things on the go, and I talk to them and I get to cultivate these relationships because I'm sitting down having a real conversation about their life. And when I run into them later, they feel like they already know me. That podcast gets shared. They share it to their friends, their family, they share it out to their community. People walk into my office all the time, or I don't even have an office anymore. I'm at home, but people call me or I speak to them. I'm like, how did you hear about me? Oh, I heard about you on the podcast, or I heard your episode, or I'll be walking in the grocery store. Oh my gosh, I love that episode last week. It is a way to connect with people and for people to get to know you without, again, you having to one at a time get to know those people. It's a way to connect with more people, build credibility in a larger scale. The other podcast I just started is a local real estate podcast. And for me, it is a great opportunity just to introduce myself to a realtor without doing an ask. I'm not going with my hand out saying, can you send me a deal? I'm saying, hey, I would love to hear about your real estate journey. Do you want to come on my podcast? I am adding value for them because now it's something they get to share. I'm getting to know them. We get to have a conversation. I'm not spending any money on coffee. It's costing me nothing. Uh, and it's a fabulous way to build relationships and to add value for them. And it doesn't have to be a podcast. It can be something else. But if I show up with my hand out and say, can you send me a deal? Like, what am I bringing them? Like, you need to give something before you get something. So ask yourself when you're going out to those realtors, what are you bringing to them? What are you giving to them? So that there's a little bit of reciprocity. Uh, you know what? You want to start super simple? 30-second Facebook reel. Like, turn on your camera, hit record, have a script, whatever you want to do. There are many different ways to do public speaking without like being on a huge stage with a microphone. But the fastest way for people, to decide if they know, like, and trust you is to hear you speak. And then those referrals aren't just referrals, they're now warm referrals because those people have seen you, they feel like they already know you. You might not know them, but when they're introduced to you, they feel like they already know who you are. They feel like they already know you. And it creates this instant warmth. So just to recap, yeah, let your inner weirdo, inner crazy goat lady shine.
I
Be a
love
good
that.
person. Yeah. Find your story. Like, what is your story? What is your why? Because that will lead you to your specialty. That is the thing that will connect you to your clients. And people notice people who notice them. So, like, who are the people today that you're like, oh my gosh, I love what that person's doing, or the article that you read, or the thing that you saw, or the person that you admire? Like, go tell them that you think they're awesome. Yeah, support your neighborhood, support your community, your industry. Like, you're only as prosperous as it's that whole neighborhood thing. If your house is beautiful and your neighborhood's falling apart, your house value is going down. So you want to build the value of your business, you want to build the value of yourself. That means building up everyone around you. And don't be a jerk, right? Like, you want to be remembered because you're a nice person, not because you're a jerk. It sounds simple, but like, there are people right now, there are realtors, there are mortgage brokers losing deals just because they're just not that nice. Um, and yeah, you can build credibility through speaking. Literally any speaking platform will work. And knowing isn't enough. You have to take action. So, what I want to leave you with is, what is the one thing today that you can do when you leave here? What is one thing that you can do? Go and do that. It's hard to take all this stuff in and, you write notes, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Just pick one thing. What is one thing you're going to do that's going to make a difference in your business today? And
Mhm.
go do that.